Hi, welcome. It's me again, Mission, and welcome to the episode of Mission's Workout from Home, Season 5, episode number 16. Number 17. Right. So today we're going to talk about are salt bad for you? Right. So this topic sometimes people come about. So I'm going to share with you whether is there such thing as best salt for you, good salt, bad salt. How much salt should we take? Should we totally avoid it? Some of the myth and also some fun facts, so to speak, so that it can help you to your fitness journey. Alright, so if you just tune this video, feel free to like, share, and even let everyone know so that everyone can learn this for free. Alright, so before we start, as usual, just a small little announcement that I am opening up some coaching slots. So if you want to train like how I usually train at home, you want to do it, how to work out from home and still get to your results. Not only is to sweat it out, have someone guide you. At the same time, I believe it also helps you mentally wise. We're all locked in a place for so long, staying at home for so long because of this pandemic. Hopefully this will fix here a little bit. Alright, so if you want a workout, you want to try it out, treat it like a game, hey, you go very far. Alright, so let's get into it. Okay, so salt. Right, so sometimes when I work with clients usually ask, hey, what salt should I take? Should I track my salt? Okay, so when they talk about track means like some people they track calories, right? They track protein, carbs, fat. Do you need to track salt as well? So I'm here to tell you, there's no right or wrong. It's just whether it's relevant or not, so to speak. Okay. So before I start anything, just a small little disclaimer. Everything that I share here are just for general public. Alright, so if you are special or your outlier, example, you have some health condition or some medical condition, before you make any changes to your diet or nutrition or even to your workout, please seek your general practitioner or professional advice before making any changes. Okay, so here you go. This is it. So salt, right? So what is salt? Right, salt is basically the powdery thing. We use it to season our food. Simply put this way, almost every food has salt. Okay, in fact, even if you don't artificially put salt on it, there will still be some salt. So example, meat, even if you don't cook it, you don't season it, in nature there's still a little bit of salt inside. It's just that we can't see it with our naked eye. So in a nutshell, salt is pretty much that it says it. Okay, so salt, in terms of market wise, we see all sorts of version. We have seen there's table salt, sea salt, kosher salt, you got the Himalayan salt, then you got the red salt, pink salt, and then you have what kind of other salts. So put the comment, let me know what other salts, right? So in a nutshell, there's a lot of type of salts, okay, not to mention the texture wise, coarse salt, fine salt, right, or special iodine salt. We'll talk about that, more on that later. Okay, so when we talk about salt, is there such thing as good salt or bad salt? If I were to sum it up, the answer is there's no good salt or bad salt, even though there's a lot of the product claims that they have extra health benefits where you can do, the salt can help you with some extra minerals or extra vitamins. Turns out you use any kind of salt, it pretty much helps aid to the body. There's no additional benefits. So meaning, if you buy a pink salt and you buy a table salt, turns out the medical benefits are pretty much the same. To date, we do not have any evidence showing that one salt is more superior than another one. So you can rest assured, if someone claims you this salt has something this and that, even if there is special magic properties, the margin is very small, you probably won't get much result out of it, right? In fact, it's like you're spending more money on it, so probably not worth your choice. Okay, so we talk about salt. So people always, I'm sure you heard before, right? So people tell you, oh, cut down salt or add more salt, right? Very rare. But most people say, oh, I want to reduce salt because health, right? This is a very blanket statement. So I'll break it down. What are they trying to mean, and maybe what do they actually mean, so to speak. Okay, so the salt in our body is important. Number one, right? Make no mistake. If you have zero salt, like not even 1 milligram in the body, you will die, right? Because salt helps to regulate blood pressure. Simply put it this way, okay? So that means you don't have salt, the blood will go all around, and then you will probably die because the blood is just all around, you cannot control. Simply put it this way, salt is needed, right? So salt is needed for health. So we talk about the good salt and bad salt. Next we talk about the benefit of salt, okay? Contrary to a lot of belief, people always think that salt is bad. Salt, if you take the right amount, it actually helps you, not just for the health purposes, it also helps you, believe it or not, it actually helps you to sort of regulate your blood pressure and even your fluid intake as well. Yes, so example, if you drink something very salty, which makes sense, you drink something very salty, you tend to want to have more liquid, or you tend to be hungrier, right? You don't believe, you can try, right? So, example, you drink a very high, example, once you drink soap has a lot of salt inside. Once you drink the soap, right, you will feel a bit thirsty, you have more appetite. Increase your appetite to have your food. That's why soap is always put as appetizers, which makes total sense, right? I never thought of that. Just recently when I look back on the website, it makes total sense, right? So you want to make sure there's a bit of salt in your diet as well. Now, does this mean that you should have all the salt in the world? No, obviously not. Because if you have too much salt, I'll explain later how much is much and how little. If you have too much salt in your diet, or you have a lot of salt, everything is high in salt, there will come some health complications, which includes there is a chance to increase the risk of diabetes, or also known as hypertension, high blood pressure. Okay, so whenever you have too much salt, you may lead up to high blood pressure. Okay, so how much is too much? So here comes a crucial question. If you follow the WHO or even the US FDA, that means United States Food and Drug Administration, they will give you something like not more than 5 grams of salt. Simply put it this way, okay? So meaning it should be less than 1 teaspoon of salt, which is, I would say, most people will consume that as a minimum amount. So no issue about that, okay? So most people usually don't lack salt. If anything, our community, especially in Malaysia, you will eat too much salt, high sodium food, alright? So for example, high sodium food, example, salted fish, or you have some very, or usually anything that is what I call minced meat product. So example, your meatloaf, your ham, sausages, these things are high in sodium. And put the sodium aside, assuming you find one that is very low in sodium, it also brings you some health complication, because if you always think about it, this kind of minced meat are high in calories and low in nutrients. Meaning, if you're eating that for health purposes, health sake, it may not be a good idea. You want to have it for leisure or for pleasure purposes, be my guest, no problem. But just don't take it as a health benefit. For example, worse, I have seen people eat sausages and they tell me, I'm doing this for health. You can, not say cannot, but in the long run, you may buy some troubles because you have lack of nutrients. You're wasting a lot of calories on this kind of food, and you get hungrier faster. And also at the same time, last but not least, if you have so much of this food, you may get into some weight gain, because more and more calories piling up and you get hungrier. So it's a vicious cycle. So salt wise, as long as you keep salt to a moderate amount, you're pretty much done. Okay, so you don't want to like measure make sure every time I measure, oh, this is like 1 tablespoon of salt or 1 teaspoon of salt. You don't have to go to that extent, right? In fact, let's be honest, Asian cooking, we don't use much of the spoon, right? We just pour a dash or to taste the time. So I think that's usually fine, right? So what you want to do is have frequently, example, you have your diet for the next 1 year is full of salted fish or some salted vegetable stuff, then I have bad news for you. You will run up to health complications very soon. Okay, so we also want to avoid that. And pretty much that's about it. Okay, so salt is not a foe. It can be used as our friend. Okay, in fact, so some of the myth and fact I share with you. Okay, so myth or fact, I let you all choose. After I work out, there's only 2 ways, myth or fact, there's only 2 ways to reduce if our body has too much salt. There's only 2 ways, which is sweating and urine, peeing. Okay, myth or fact, I let you have a think, right? Okay, so it turns out If you're wondering, the answer is actually a fact, right? So there's only two ways where you can to reduce your sweat, your salt level, is via by sweat and via by urine, okay, pee. So that's why when you have too much salt, if you are a regular human being, because of one meal you have extra salty meal, and you don't freak out anything, alright, you'll be fine. Just your body regulate via sweat a lot, or you will pee a lot. That's about it. Okay. So myth or fact, salt causes you weight gain. Okay. The answer is fact. Okay. Believe it or not. But there's a catch. I will explain the but later. Okay. So if you have a lot of high sodium meal, let's say that meal has Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is high in sodium, by the way. High in sodium, high in sugar, and high in sodium. High in sodium, and then you have like okay, let's say you have Subway, some meatloaf like that, and also you have a lot of Coke. Okay, so if you have those food, they're high in sodium. If you, assuming you track your calories are the same throughout the entire day all this while, but the salt is a little bit more. That is the only difference. Turns out your weight will increase a little bit. Why? It's usually due to water retention. So what is water retention? Water retention means your body holding on to some water, meaning this is why your weight increase. Okay, but here is the but. Before you step on the scale and you freak out, oh, I have a salty meal, therefore I must do more cardio. Don't be that guy, okay, or that girl. So understand that all these weight spikes are just temporary. Probably in a few hours, or even at most 1 day or two, you will regulate. You step on the scale, let's say you track your calories back again, and you step back on the scale, you will not lose weight. I'm sorry, your weight previously went up, went back to baseline again, or even lower. Oh, is that magic? Turns out salt makes us fat. No, it's not. It turns out your body weight has reduced because your body don't hold so much water due to the release of the salt content. What long answer short here, sum it up means, if you eat a lot of high salty food, your body will regulate via sweating and peeing, and this is how your body weight reduces. Okay, but understand, we are in for the long game. So if your weight gain a little bit because of the salt, no problem. Okay, but don't do stupid things. So example, if you have a coach, you know that you're going to weigh in on Saturday, you don't go and have a salty meal on Friday night. That is not a good idea, right? So these are just example. Or if you have a salty meal on Friday night, don't yell at yourself or panic on Saturday morning, because your weight will sure go up. Why? Because of the water retention of the salt. Okay, with that being said, once again I want to say, salt does cause you weight gain, but it's a temporary weight gain. It is not permanently. Okay, I've seen people cut so much salt, they thought that salt is the magic. Salt is not the magic that reduce your weight. It's because of just the temporary water retention, simply put this way. In fact, if you have too little salt in your body, less than the 5 gram or 1 tablespoon we talk about, also known as 2000 mg milligram. Okay, if you have lesser than all this, there is a little bit of health issue where you are more prone to low blood pressure, and this means that you might get easily fainted or lack of energy. Okay, so easy way to counter that, have a little bit more salty meal, or if you just don't like salty meal, you can have a beverage that has a bit of more sugar and salt. That should do the trick. So example, soft isotonic drink, 100 plus Gatorade and stuff. Those are good selections. Okay, so pretty much that's it. Okay, so we talk about the cause you weight gain, whether what kind of salt fits you best, and is there such thing as too much salt, too little salt? We talk about it already. And let me know, okay, what in the comments, or you can message me, like some of you guys do, how you want to think about salt, how do you go around it, okay? So let me know in the comments, right? How do you track your salt, okay? How much of salt do you have in a day? And let me know in the comments, and tell me how you feel also, alright? And I guess that's it, alright? Thank you so much for joining this week's episode. So to recap everything, there's no such thing as good salt, bad salt. Turns out all salts are the same. The only difference is probably the one that you can afford or the one that you prefer. There's no additional health benefit as of today, as of now. There's no evidence that one salt is more superior than another one. Okay. At the same time, if you have too much salt, it may cause a lot of high blood pressure or hypertension to the body, may lead to hypertension. If you have too little salt in the body, then you also got a problem because you may be weak or have tiredness, like a low blood pressure kind of symptom. Okay, and last but not least, salt, believe it or not, after you work out, right? After you work out, if you need to drink more salt because you sweat out already. It turns out there is nothing to sweat on, alright? No pun intended. Alright, so that you don't need to worry too much about the sweat, and you can just go to your normal diet. You should be fine. Okay, and last but not least, the salt. Right, how much salt? For most people, it's going to be, or myself also, it's going to be around 5 grams. Also, that's 1 teaspoon. That's a good recommendation. It's a good rule of thumb, so to speak. Okay. Of course, if you are an athlete or you are a very active person, working at a construction site or a lot of walking footsteps, that will be a different story. Okay. So I hope this episode helps to clear things out and also give you some knowledge that salt is not just it's not an enemy. Mostly it can be your friend. Just don't get overboard with it. Okay? So I'll catch with you on the next episode, which is on Thursday. So Thursday, I'm going to train with you how to train these shoulders. Okay? Using home workout, working out at home, using household items, and I'll catch with you on the next episode. So until then, always remember, you can always work out from home. Till then, bye bye.